What's up, YouTube, and welcome to my pickups video for the month of September 2021. Didn't do a whole lot of travel this month. I stayed pretty much within the state, but I did go to Kansas City for one weekend, so found a few things up there. And then the other event of the month that was local was the MoGameCon. I believe it was the 5th year of the event, and good to see a lot of friends there and really hang out for the day. Got a few things there, not as much as I kind of expected to buy, to be honest, but overall got some things that I was really looking for. So you'll kind of see a mix of that as we go through the video today. I thought I'd start off with PlayStation games first. We'll look at some PS1 finds I had for the month. This first one's one that I've passed by many times. It's a super easy game to find. I think I paid $3 for it. But I got spurned on by a video that Game Rave TV did a few weeks ago that was really singing the praises of this game, and that is Skydiving Extreme for the PS1. This is a Natsume published title. I'm usually big into Natsume published stuff, so I'm kind of surprised I never gave this a look before. But I'm really glad I did get this. I've been playing it quite a bit since his video held very true to some of the things I like about this game. So obviously I'm not really a big fan of skydiving by any means, but this game was actually developed by a company called Metro, and they actually were the ones that created the Bust a Groove in the US, or Bust a Move in Japan, series of rhythm action games. So this probably follows a similar game engine to those, and that it really plays like a rhythm action game. You do button combos and things like that to get the skydiver safely to the ground, and then also try to perform tricks and stunts and things like that in the air using button press combos and things like that. So it's actually strangely pretty addictive. I can see why Game Rave TV got so into it, and definitely think this is a worthy get for the $2 or $3 you'll probably be able to find it for. So very happy to check that one out. It was one that I'd passed by for years. Because I looked into that, I also got another Natsume published title, and this one is another very easy to get game that was formerly a budget release game. Really only goes for about $2 or $3 now as well, and that's Burstrick Wakeboarding, excuse me. Another game that I'm not really into the genre, but it turned out this was also another game that was developed by Metro, and so I figured, oh, well, if they did a good job on the skydiving game, maybe this one's good too. This one, not so much. It's kind of like a wave race style game. The water effects and things like that actually look really good. They did a nice job with the graphics and colors in this game, but the frame rate is abysmal, and the game control is not all that good either. So I can see why this one stayed cheap. This one is not a hidden gem by any means like the other game was. So you can pass this one up unless you're just big into Natsume published stuff like I am. So I'm going to hang on to it for that reason. Another one I picked up at a a flea market that had really just recently restarted since the end of, some COVID restrictions and things like that in Illinois, was Bugs Bunny and Taz Time Busters. I'm not really a huge fan of Bugs Bunny by any means or anything like that, but I've noticed this game goes for quite a bit. I don't know if it's just due to a lack of licensed kids games on the PS1, and maybe collectors are driving the price up of those. Or maybe it's genuinely pretty good. So I haven't had a chance to pop it in yet and try it, but I got it really cheap at the flea market, so I figured I'd give it a chance, see how it is. If I like it, I'll keep it for my collection. If not, I'll probably sell it on, because, like I say, it does go for a little bit. Another weird find I had from my Kansas City trip was actually at a chain video game store that strangely had some import games in stock, something they normally don't carry. And I got Galaxian 3, or Galaxian Cubed, I guess is what it technically is, for the Japanese PS1. This is a Namco-related release title that is based on a very interesting arcade game that had some interesting technology in that it brought in Laserdisc technology as well as like a theater style of gameplay. In Japan, this game had like up to 32 players that could play the game basically in the same theater, and then they released like a scaled down version of this in America that I think had 6 players that would play at the same time, or up to 6 players. In one time in my life, I have seen that experience, and I got to play it. I thought it was super strange. It was kind of run down at that point, and it was many years past its peak, but a very, very rare arcade game to find just due to the amount of real estate it takes to put in the theater, multiple Laserdisc projectors, things like that. But it actually makes for a pretty decent PS1 rail shooter game. It definitely uses some of the early 3D technology of the PS1. This was an early release game. And they tried to keep it pretty faithful to those Laserdisc arcade-based games. They did also, kind of in Namco style, class it up for the PS1 a little bit. So they included like a whole bonus mission that is exclusive to this release. So in a way, kind of a shame that we didn't get this in the US. I think it probably would have done okay, considering rail shooters were, you know, a little bit popular during that time. I'll show you what the back looks like as well, just so you can get kind of an idea. It's very loosely related to the Galaga Galaxian series, but this one definitely takes a left turn and goes more in that rail shooter genre. So if you like that kind of stuff and you're kind of, you know, willing to take a step back into that early 90s technology of early 3D, you probably would like this game, and it doesn't go for a whole lot. So very happy to find that just by chance, and turned out pretty well. Also got a couple PS4 games this month. This first one of these I got at MoGameCon, and this one is Danganronpa V3. I guess it's technically the third game in the series. Recently got the first game in the series for the Vita a few months ago, and ultimately got very, very hooked on it. Really like the gameplay style. It's a visual novel-ish game, but it also has, you know, some just really interesting storylines to it. There's trials. There's very sadistic gameplay to it. And it kind of feels Phoenix Wright-ish in a way, too. So, really enjoyed the first game. I'm still working my way through that. I did put a few hours into this one, expecting to like it just as much. And ultimately, this one seems a lot slower, just getting the game started. So, maybe this one will pick up. I'm sure I'll give it a little bit more time. Or I might just go back to the first one, try to finish that off first, and then maybe complete the series in order. But ultimately, the story in this one stands alone so far. There's all new characters, things like that. So far, it's okay. But it is kind of a difficult game to find for the PS4, and really all these games seem to be a little bit, you know, harder to find, or at least hold their value pretty well. So definitely happy to get this one. I found it at a decent price at the con, and enjoying it somewhat so far. Another one I got just recently this last weekend for the PS4 is Attack on Titan. I was completely unfamiliar with the anime that this is based on. I know it's been a long-running series. There's also a sequel to this on the PS4, and both of these are kind of expensive and hard to find. Ended up getting this at a somewhat local game store at a decent price, so I figured I'd give it a shot. I was a little bit concerned because it's by the developer that makes all the Koei games that are, oh shoot, I can't think of the name of the series. Dynasty Warriors is one of those, and then there's a whole other series that they run into the ground. But ultimately this is more of a 3D action game, and it actually is pretty fun. What I kind of had a bother with is just the controls on it are just a little bit over convoluted. It's like they really had to use every single button on the DualShock pad and like combinations of buttons to do certain moves and things like that, when really they could have kept it a little more simple and it would have been just as enjoyable. So I find myself like having to hold the controller at an odd angle just to be able to pull off some of the moves. But I do like what I'm seeing so far with the storyline, and then just really how the action plays out in the game. It's pretty cool. So definitely a unique series. I definitely want to check out the second game now, and then maybe even watch the anime, I guess. I'm kind of piqued my interest based on what I've seen in the game so far. So if you're more familiar with this, you can fill me in if this is something out that I've been missing out on for years. This game's a few years old now, and I think the second one came out maybe a year or two ago. So these have been out a little while on the PS4. Really, that's about the bulk of the games I got this month. I only have one more game to show you, but I do have some other gaming-related stuff. This one was a weird find I just got the last weekend also, and I was just thinking about Game Boy Color games I just never ever see, and I kind of have a feeling this is probably one of the more difficult to find Game Boy Color games. This is Harley-Davidson Motorcycles Race Across America. And I didn't pay much for this, but I've noticed on eBay they're like pretty expensive for the current listings, but I also noticed nobody's buying them, so it may be one of those situations where it's rare and nobody really cares. I could kind of see why. I did pop this in just out of curiosity. Not a big Harley fan by any means, but I just wanted to see what the gameplay was like, and it is so bad. It's incredibly slow, and you have to fill up for gas almost as often as you are actually racing in the game, so maybe that's what owning a Harley is really like. I didn't know they were such gas guzzlers, but it just seems like over-dramatic, the amount of gas fill-up mechanics that they added to this game versus actual racing, so can't necessarily recommend this one unless you're just really looking for weird Game Boy Color titles that probably aren't that common. A couple things I got at the con were some manuals. Obviously always looking to upgrade some of my copies of the older games to get manuals and things like that. So one of these I got was Flying Warriors. This is one by the strange developer Culture Brain. And just, you know, kind of has an interesting artwork on it too. I don't think I have the box for this one. I'll have to look. I haven't really gone through and matched that up yet, but nice to find that. The other one I got is one I've been wanting. I've been kind of trying to piece this game together complete for years, and it's really been a pain. But I got the manual for Airbuster for the Genesis. I still need the box for this, however, but I have like this very minty cartridge for it, and I'm like, I'm just going to be able to piece this together. I don't want to like rebuy it all complete because my cartridge is so nice. So the manual turned out pretty nice as well. Hopefully I can find a box with the original artwork and then finally complete this game. I think it actually might be like the last Genesis shooter I don't own complete, so now I'm kind of like really chasing it now that I found this. But was happy to get this at the con. I had a nice talk with the guy that sold this to me. He came all the way from Mississippi to Missouri for this con, so I admire the dedication. I think he might have been one of the farthest traveled to set up a booth and vend there. And it sounds like he has a store down there as well, too. So very nice guy to talk to, and very happy to get that manual. The other reason I guess this one was on the back burner for so long is I own the arcade version of this, so, you know, ultimately the Genesis version's going to be a little bit disappointing compared to that, but now I want it just for kind of shooter completionist sake, so. The next thing I really went big on this month was NES boxes, some of this intentionally, some of this unintentionally, and I noticed just really how close I am to getting the full set of Taito NES games complete in the box. I already have all the cartridges. I have some of the more difficult to find boxes, but there's just a few more that I need, either the manual of the box or just, you know, a little bitty piece to get it complete. So now I'm kind of chasing that subset, and I actually got helped out by one of my followers on YouTube. So thank you very much to Sir Lomax, who sold me this game, or just the box, I'm sorry, this month to help me out. And this is Elevator Action, one of Taito's earlier releases for the NES, when they still had their old logo design, so you can kind of see that. Very simplistic but cool box, just with the coloring, and then you only just have these giant 2 screenshots on the back to basically tell you everything you need to know. So I guess you should know that this is going to give you all the elevator fun you wanted just from those 2 screenshots, and you should buy it. I don't know how well that worked out for him, but anyways, I do always like this game. I've liked the arcade game for years, and happy to get this one now complete in the box because I already had the cart and the manual for it. Another one I found out in my travels, I think I got this on the Kansas City trip, was a box for Puzznic. It's kind of a simplistic puzzle game by Taito. Taito does make some great puzzle games. This one originally was a arcade game, and so they also tried to spice it up a little bit for the home by adding a game called Gravnik to it. So you really are getting 2 games in one, but basically it's a block-moving puzzle game, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And ultimately the box art on this one's not exactly that exciting, but it gets me a little closer to the full Taito set. Probably the rarest of these 3 that I got, this was an eBay find, and I ended up having to buy it as a combo with another game you're going to see next, which was a really strange pairing. I don't know why the seller did that. They probably could have sold both games for more if they just sold them separately. But, you know, sometimes people are in a hurry, they just want to get rid of some of their stuff. So I got a really nice box for Kicks on the NES, and this is actually a deceptively hard to find game on the NES, probably especially complete. So very happy to get this. Obviously a version of the original Taito arcade game that was very early, like 1980-ish, and really always enjoyed this. Basically it's just a fill-in-the-screen, you know, puzzle game. But can be pretty addicting, and I've always liked, you know, the variations of Kicks that they provided over the years too. So happy to get this one. This was one that, you know, even back in the day I didn't see this in the box very often, so it's very nice to get this. Now I'm going to get to the other game that came with that auction, and turned out I already had this box, so now I got a dupe of it, but it came with Barbie. So actually I have a much nicer box now. This was an upgrade for sure over the one I had. Not a huge fan of this game by any means, but now I have a bright pink, colorful NES box that stands out on the shelf, and definitely a product of its era. So it was just strange that they sold those 2 games together because they don't seem very congruent. The other thing I got just this weekend, and this was a mistake on my part, is a game that I've always liked on the NES. I thought I didn't have the box, and so I got a box only for Trog, which is a kind of variant on the Pac-Man maze game theme. But it's a great, you know, arcade game that was brought to the home and really enjoyable. And it turned out that I already had this. I thought, I didn't think I did. I need to really make a list of my NES boxes, but I haven't made one. So ultimately I got it home and I realized I already had it. And honestly, this box is about comparable in condition to the other one that I already had. So not really an upgrade, but you know, whatever. It'll be trade bait for somebody. If somebody is interested in this, let me know. If not, I'll probably just put it on eBay or something. So we'll see. I got 2 other things to show you. They are both accessories. One of these things was from the MoGameCon, and it's something I've really needed for years. I was excited to find this. At first glance, it's going to look just like a Sega Genesis 3-button pad, nothing special. However, this is the JVC branded one that came with the JVC XI system originally. It was the pack-in controller, and I've owned a JVC XI for years, but I never had the branded controller that goes with it. So probably won't necessarily use this too much. I typically use the Genesis 6-button pads, but it's definitely nice to have it to kind of complete the set with that system that I've owned for such a long time. Nice seller that I talked to for a while with this too, so very happy to find this at MoGameCon. This next one requires a demonstration, so please bear with me for just a second here while I prepare myself. But this was something I found on the Kansas City trip, and it was unplanned, and as well as that other game I showed you. But this is something that I kind of had forgotten existed, and that is the glove controller. I think it's called the Reality Quest glove for PS1 that came out in the late 90s. And if you're thinking Power Glove vibes, you're absolutely right. It has kind of a similar appearance to it, except it's a little more scaled back because the glove doesn't cover your whole arm like the Power Glove did. It's really meant to have like some quasi motion control to it, but it has all the buttons on it as well, so it's a little bit too much to handle because your hand has to rest on the front, push all the face buttons, and then you've got your shoulder buttons on this one area here for your thumb. So it's not very intuitive, and it does have, like I said, some motion control in that you can like rock it back and forth for like the D-pad essentially. And then I guess just you pivot it left and right to also move your other D-pad axis. So basically all your motions are just to take the place of the D-pad. I tried playing Ridge Racer with it. It was a huge disaster. I made it about halfway through the first course before I ran out of time. And I kept resetting it a couple times and I did no better. So maybe it doesn't work so well for racing games. I thought that might, work well with kind of a steering effect. But it's so sensitive that I had to kind of cradle my other arm on it just to like barely pivot it because the steering was... very, very sensitive the way it controlled around the track. So I don't know if anybody else has experienced this glove, if you liked it or not. I just think it's an interesting curiosity. I'm going to keep it for that purpose. And they actually made one of these for N64 as well, so you could chase down all the gloves. I have the Power Glove. I have this one. I don't have the N64 one, so maybe that'll be in my future someday. But definitely an accessory you don't see in the wild too often. And it has this interesting hinge here I should call out too, where it does allow some pivot. So that's where some of the control angles come in. But yeah, definitely one of the weirder things I found over the course of the month. So appreciating getting to show you something different for sure. But that really does it for the month. Not a whole ton of pickups. The game market prices are still absolutely insane. So it's more a matter of just being very curated with what I'm looking for right now and really checking off some boxes on specific lists that I'm looking for. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon wherever you are. Have a great day or night wherever you are. I will talk to you soon. Thank you.